Hello and welcome. This is the Cedar Log. And before we get into today's conversation, we wanted to introduce this podcast and what we are aiming to do. Through the many planned episodes, we want to talk about and teach about the history of Unanimous Lodge 1 and Delmont Lodge, including the camps within those lodges and other properties and the councils that were part of those lodges as well. And if you would like to help contribute to our history, please contact us at history@unanimouslodge.org. Hello, I am Reese Wallace.
And I am Luke Clancy.
And today we will be talking about Camp Hart from its founding to, we'll see how far we get. Camp Hart started in 1930. But it took some time and a lot of effort before they picked what became Hart to act as the camp. So in 1929, Philadelphia Council had this massive search for potential campgrounds. They looked at like 120 different sites from, I believe, out in Lancaster by the Susquehanna River. Susquehannock? Yeah. And then like to Atlantic Ocean. And they were even down in Maryland looking at sites. They were all over looking for a potential campground.
So you're saying that they went from pretty much like almost way out of council near Rodney, let's say, Lancaster. So that's a big area to really search for.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of surprising for that time too. Like there was a definite need for more camping ground because Treasure Island only has so much space, and it seems like scouting had grew to the point where they were getting like a consistent and larger and larger group of campers. But it's just amazing that they would think of getting a second camp that far away. I guess we should also turn back. So Philadelphia Council started in 1910. So they did have, some time to build up their scouting program before they got Camp Hart. And it really started with their council president, Dr. Charles D. Hart. He found the land. It was some estate of a farmer, I believe. I don't remember the gentleman's name. But he found the land and was like, okay, this looks nice. And he proposed to the council board to spend $65,000 to buy the property, and they did, and they called it the Charles D. Hart Scout Reservation, which was shortened and most commonly referred to as just Hart Scout Reservation. So they, wanted to develop the camp and get it ready for a summer camp, but they made a contract to build a dam along the Unanimous Creek in 1931. But for some unknown reason, it was delayed till 1934, which also delayed when they could conduct a full summer camp. Part of the property purchase was this big old barn that we call Hart Lodge today, but originally it was called Daniel Boone Lodge. So they housed 60 scouts in this barn in 1932, and this didn't prove satisfactory because the next year they only had camp for 1 week. So it seemed like the barn was not enough, and they definitely needed more space.
Not to interrupt, but I could really see why it was really unsatisfactory at this point. The smell alone of just 60 scouts throughout a week is going to be terrible. Being stuck in a barn, I could see why following year was only 1 week.
Amen to that. So in 1934, they did build that dam along the Unanimous Creek, which then let them build the camp how they wanted to. So they built a camp called Pioneer Camp within Hart, and they had different sites. So Pioneer Camp had sites named after Daniel Boone, William Bridgen, Davy Crockett, and Kit Carson. So the big thing with Hart when it first, started as a full-fledged summer camp is that the troops made their own program. So the staff in 1934 was only 5 guys. It was a camp director, an aquatics guy, a naturalist, and 2 scoutcraft staff. So they kind of acted as advisors to the troops. So if the troop wanted to do something with aquatics, they would go to the gentleman who taught aquatics. Or if they wanted to do something with nature, they would go to the naturalist on staff.
Well, and fun fact for you guys, 1934 was also the year that FDR became the honorary president of scouting. And even former President Hoover, he became the honorary vice president of scouting for that time. Scouting was getting just so big. Wanted the president involved.
That's dope. So Hart also kept expanding throughout the years. So in 1935, there was this old farmhouse that was turned into a Unami Lodge house with funds from the lodge. Also, the same year, the Chiefs camp was opened at Hart with the site Chinjaksuk. Probably butchering that a little bit. I do apologize. I'm trying. And Chiefs camp would expand to include the campsites Te Uskong, Tom Aned, and Plenty Ku in 1936. And the same year, staff lean-tos and the trading posts on the east side were also used.
Yeah, another fun fact that the first national jamboree was held, I believe, in D.C. This was even during like a executive planning committee for national at the time.
Yeah, so scouting just was really growing at this time. And 1938, the Unami Lodge House was also used as a dining hall and for staff lodging. And the camp staff, 1934, was just 5 guys. In 1936, it grew to include a quartermaster, a hike counselor, a cook, a general counselor, and there's no scoutcraft staff, but it seemed like they were really trying to have a variety of folks to help out the scouts and how they built their own program per se. And in 1937, it grew to 13 staff, and there was 2 staffs for each camp. So Chiefs Camp and then Pioneer Camp. So each camp had their own camp chief, nature guy, hike counselor, and then aquatics counselor. And then there was a resident staff that included the camp director, an aide, a cook, trader, and clerk. So early Hart was kind of 2 camps that were also not 2 camps because they were run by the same folks, and they were kind of, I guess, relatively, we could say they were small if you compare them to scout camps today. And then in 1941, the camp staff roster actually had, for the first time, a caretaker, and that was Harry Long, and he'd be very important for the property later. And then in 1949, the staff was around 14. So even during the war and in the 40s, Hart was still growing and could maintain that staff number. And this growth would prompt the development that would occur on the property in the 1950s, which I think is a story for another day.
I'd like to thank you guys for tuning into today's episode. If you have any history from Camp Hart or any other camps in this area, please feel free to contact us at history@unamilodge.org or through our Facebook or Instagram, which is Unami Lodge History Committee. Thank you all. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.